Here's your shot at winning $1,000. Text the national keyword green right now to 95819. That's GREEN to 95819. We'll text you back to confirm your entry. Data and messaging rates may apply. Please don't text and drive. It's 5K a day on WMAL. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:07 here on this incredible Friday morning, the 10th day of October. If you like numbers, it's 10:10. Make note, please. 10:10.
Is that supposed to be scary? You think that's scary?
No, it's just symmetrical. I like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was the signal for the all-news station up in New York for many years.
Oh.
We're not in New York, nor are we an all-news station. We are talk radio here on the mighty WMAL. Coming up at 7:35, we'll speak with Christian Datoc. He covers the White House for the Examiner. Big day yesterday in that cabinet meeting, and what's ahead for President Trump's plan to go to the Middle East. Then at 8:05, Caroline Glick, speaking of the Middle East, a member of the team there for Benjamin Netanyahu, will get the Israeli perspective on this peace deal. And then at 8:35, the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. I'm Larry O'Connor. You heard her voice already. She's the effervescent Patrice Onwuka.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yeah, sure. Friday. I'm with you on that. It is. There's a lot to cover here. We could go on and play clip after clip after clip of Abigail Spanberger evading a very simple question. Do you withdraw your endorsement from Jay Jones, the man who said in text messages that he thought the only way to get Republicans to start thinking right on policy is to start having some of them die. Start killing some of them, and then you'll see.
So horrendous.
Yeah. Let's do some of the shorter cuts here where she just refuses to directly answer that question. She refuses directly to answer any hard question. And let me define what because they're not hard questions. They're only hard if you're embarrassed or ashamed by your true position. So the two big policies are, do you withdraw your endorsement of Jay Jones? The answer is no, she does not. Okay, and she's embarrassed by that. She doesn't want anybody to know that. She doesn't want anyone to have a gotcha moment where you can hear her say, oh, no, I stand by Jay Jones. So she obfuscates, she lies, she dodges, she dances around. She does, what a trained CIA agent would do, I suppose. That is her background. Mm-hmm. And then the other question is, do you support the policies that allow for men to expose themselves to little girls in locker rooms? The answer is yes. She does support that policy. She has voted for that policy in Congress, but she refuses to answer that question, too. She just evades and dances around it. Don't believe me? Yeah. Listen to it yourself. Here's cut 1A. We'll start. And so, again, there is literally about 9 minutes of this, but we'll just give you the highlights. Cut 1A.
Ms. Spanberger, you have called the comments disgusting and said you condemn violence. The question for you tonight is, were you aware of these messages before they were released publicly, and will you continue to endorse Jay Jones as the next Attorney General of Virginia? You have 60 seconds.
The comments that Jay Jones made are absolutely abhorrent. I denounced them when I learned of them, and I will denounce them every opportunity I get. As a mother, as a public servant, as a candidate for governor, I denounce them. And it is important that candidates always denounce violence on no matter which side of the aisle. Violence, violent rhetoric, we should always be focused and forceful in our denouncement of it.
Are you going to tell him
and
to get
importantly,
please,
Now, you heard Winsome Sears getting frustrated there, and one of the critiques of Winsome Sears last night was that she did a lot of interrupting and a lot of talking over because, she was the rest of us all talking back at our television. The difference is she was on a hot mic, Patrice, but we were all saying, answer the question. The question is, when did you learn about the text messages, and will you withdraw your endorsement? And she just couldn't bring herself to answer.
Listen, Winsome Sears was right, 100% right to jump in. And listen, she gave Abigail Spanberger a good, 30 seconds to give a response. And Abigail Spanberger was burning up time. So, Winsome Sears was absolutely right to jump in there, to ask the question again, to hold her accountable, to hold her feet to the fire, and to keep doing it all night. I'd cheer her on for it.
Abigail Spanberger has been, elevated by the media as, it's a lock. She's just going to run away with it. They've been saying this since January. All right. They love her. but I don't think any of them have actually followed her career. They love the fact that she has this bio that she thinks makes her moderate because she used to work at the CIA. And her one claim to fame is that in a private conference call, she called out the squad and Pelosi and Biden when they didn't do well during one of the midterms. And that was it. Nothing publicly, just privately. She said, hey, I know you guys are Marxists, but stop saying it out loud, which I guess makes her a moderate. That makes her a moderate, but her voting record isn't moderate at all. And I feel like she has enjoyed this privilege of being a blonde, white, suburban Democrat liberal woman, which Democrats think, well, that's it. That's all we need. We need the white suburban liberal women, and that's how we're going to win elections. And the fact of the matter is, in Virginia, that might be enough, Patrice. But I think for a lot of people, this is the first time they saw this candidate actually speaking for more than a 30-second edited advertisement, and she was pathetic, like really bad.
Because she sounded like a 30-second advertisement. Every one of her answers seemed rehearsed, seemed like she read it from a script or memorized a script with lines that probably have been message tested. She wasn't authentic. She didn't come across as someone who's a fighter, who's quick on her feet, who can respond in the moment. She was like a cardboard cutout of Kamala Harris.
Even the moderators caught on. I got to hand it to the moderators, at least on the issue of the Jay Jones text. She kept evading. And listen, cut two. You'll hear the moderator says, you didn't answer the question. Go ahead, cut two.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. I didn't hear an answer there on the endorsement issue, so I want to just make sure. Will you continue to endorse Jay Jones to be the next Attorney General of Virginia? And were you aware of these text messages before they released? You have 30 seconds.
In fact, it appears that it was those who released the text messages and held them for years. So the public was unaware who had knowledge of these text messages for many years.
What did you do about it?
I learned of these text messages the day that they came out, and I denounced them as soon as I learned of them.
She denounces murder.
And importantly, at this point, as we move forward, the voters now have this information that was withheld for them.
You're running to
presumably for
Ms.
political reasons. But the voters now have the information, and it is up to voters to make an individual choice based on this information.
Ms. Spanberger, I understand what you're saying about the voters, but for you yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
We are all running our individual races. I believe my opponent has said that about her lieutenant governor nominee.
Ms. Earl Sayers.
And it's up to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
Yeah, it's just
Thank you,
painful.
Ms. Spanberger.
Absolutely painful. And by the way, she was given a fourth opportunity, and she wouldn't. You heard Winsome Sears there saying, third time's the charm, Abigail, let's go. It's just terrible, absolutely awful, and completely disingenuous. Did you notice, Patrice, she seems angrier that these text messages came out now versus earlier, than she is actually about the murderous
content
fantasies
of the message. And I think Winsome Sears is right to say, if you were the governor of Virginia and you know that that there's somebody on your team who fantasizes about murdering their opponents and murdering their children, and you're fine with that? I mean, I think it's absolutely right to call her out. And you could tell Abigail Spanberger went into her, I can't believe he would even ask me that kind of question, that tone, which is so insulting and how dare you?
No, she came across really unlikable, really cold. Let me put it this way. She's Katie Porter without the charm. Coming up in a moment, you'll hear the last gasp on this issue as Winsome Sears confronted Spanberger directly. Abigail Spanberger wouldn't even make eye contact with her, let alone answer her questions. You'll hear that in a moment. And then there were other topics in the debate, too. You'll hear that, too.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Your next $1,000 could be one text away. It's $5K a day on WMAL.
What would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, what if he said it about your 3 children?
Yeah, the silence was deafening. And Spanberger would not make eye contact, stared down at her podium, making notes, and would not answer that question. What if he said it about your children? And that's what every single Virginian should be thinking right now.
Yes.
What if Jay Jones said this about my children? How would that
Well, he's obviously thinking that about your children if you're not on his side. I mean, he literally said they're breeding fascists. So, it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
In Loudoun County, 2 boys have been suspended from school because they objected to having a girl in their bathroom, their locker room. That's a girl who identified as a boy. In Fairfax County, a man named Richard Cox, a multiple registered sex offender, has gone into girls' locker rooms on Children's Swim Day and exposed himself to young children and
pleasured himself in front of them.
And the prosecutor, Steve Descano, has not brought charges against him because he identifies as a woman. These are policies that Abigail Spanberger in Congress voted to support that allows this to happen. So we know where she stands on this. And yet for some reason we're playing this game pretending like we need to ask her policy. The question is not, do you support these policies? The question is, why did you vote for these policies? But for some reason, we've gotten caught in this trap to ask her where she stands. We know where she stands. She let her vote speak for her. But at the debate, the moderator asked her and gave her an opportunity to clarify this. And just, again, I want to remind you, this is a very real-world situation where girls are in danger right now as we speak. Take a listen to how Abigail Spanberger evaded the question. Cut 8, please. Cut 8.
Should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams? You have 60 seconds.
I'm a mother of 3 daughters in Virginia public schools, and nothing is more important to me than their safety and their experience in schools. I'm also a former federal agent, and I work to investigate crimes against children. And so nothing is more important to me than the safety of all of our children. And that work, in part, has earned me the endorsement of Virginia's Police Benevolent Association.
You tell Steve
Ms. Earl Sears,
importantly,
Ms. Spanberger is talking. Please let her finish.
On issues related to what's happening in our schools and each individual community, I think it's important that we have parents and teachers and administrators making decisions about their individual schools, not politicians. And if we are talking about the safety of our children, I would ask why my opponent continues to support efforts to defund public safety, an effort carried on continually by this administration.
Ms. Spanberger, once again, the question was, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams in K through 12? You have 15 seconds to clarify.
In cases across Virginia, I think it's incumbent upon parents and educators and administrators in each local community to make decisions locally.
That's what this is about.
Ms. Earl Sears?
There should never be nude men in locker rooms.
Oh, my goodness, we finally have her saying that, but you voted
there it is. There's the breakthrough moment. There's the breakthrough moment. So, and let me just so you know, if you think that she's now disavowed these policies, no. This is how she weasels out of it. You just heard her say there should never be naked men in girls' locker rooms. But, see, she doesn't think these are men. She can't define what a man is. As far as she's concerned, these biological males who are fully intact with every piece of boy parts connected to them, she thinks they're women. And it's okay for Richard Cox, who identifies as a woman, to expose himself to girls. It is nonsense what she's... And by the way, when she says there's nothing more important to me than the safety of children, no. Actually, obviously, there is something more important to her than that. Making sure she keeps getting all that money from the transgender activist lobby.
Yes.
And, oh, by the way, winning the election. Those both of those things are more important than the safety of children.
You know, what's interesting about her answer, she starts out, I'm a mom of 3 girls who are attending the public school system, and I'm a federal investigator. Which makes her position all the more crazy that she has 3 girls and is willing to, put their own self at risk. The fact that she uses the term safety, the question, the moderator never framed it as an issue of safety. I mean, obviously it is, but she's the one who uses that word, which we know tells us that she knows that it's a safety issue for our girls and our women to be in the locker rooms with the Richard Coxes of the world, but she doesn't want to admit it, and she doesn't want to go back on her voting record, nor, as you said, to turn the money down. I think Winsome Sears won this hands down. I love the interjections right away, once again, because it was important for her to unnerve Spanberger and tease out where Spanberger really is. All right, coming up, Christian Datoc of the Washington Examiner. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 7:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37. It's O'Connor and Company here, and a busy day coming off that debate between Abigail Spanberger and Winsome Sears. We're going to discuss it at 8:35 with Governor Glenn Youngkin. Also, before that, we're going to speak with Caroline Glick out of Jerusalem. She is, in fact, part of the advisory council there for Prime Minister Netanyahu. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, it's not a Friday if you're part of the Spanberger team. She hopes she can play out the clock here. We shall see. We shall see. Joining us right now, Christian Datoc. He's a White House correspondent for the Washington Examiner. And like all White House correspondents, he is, exhausted and getting about 3 hours sleep these days with the unbelievable pace the president has been on for the last, really since he was inaugurated. Christian, how you doing? Are you holding up okay? You drinking lots of caffeine?
I'm doing all right, Larry. The sleepless nights come with the territory, so yes. I've grown accustomed to being bleary-eyed at the end of the week. But thanks for having me today.
The good news is all these White House correspondents have 4 years of rest and relaxation when Biden was in the White House, right? That was so we're making up for lost time. All right, much to get to. Yesterday we had another one of these cabinet meetings. What were the high points from your perspective? What really got the headlines? Was there anything new revealed at this cabinet meeting?
Well, it really was, the president's opportunity to take a victory lap on these negotiations for peace in Gaza. He led at the top of his remarks with that. And to be quite honest, he sort of asked the cabinet members to keep it brief so that we could get to questions quickly, which, to be quite frank, we all appreciated. That last cabinet meeting was over 3 hours long. So this one was a much easier event to cover. But it truly was, more or less all eyes on Gaza, even though we are amidst a government shutdown right now here in D.C.
Well, let's pick up on the government shutdown right now. The White House has been really, I think their meme game has been pretty strong, number one, but also in really trying to hold Democrats' feet to the fire as the Democrat shutdown. We have seen, though, this week President Trump kind of say, maybe we can negotiate on the Obamacare subsidies for the wealthy that the Democrats are trying to, sacrifice poor people for. Do you see that there's been any message change there, or, do you feel like the White House is still talking with Republican leadership in trying to move the ball forward, or we're just kind of in a hold pattern?
I don't really see much of a difference in the White House's messaging, Patrice, but you mentioned Republican leadership. It sounds like Leader Thune is potentially exploring an off-ramp now with Democrats to try and bring this shutdown to an end ahead of next week's deadline to where our military members, won't be forced to work without pay. That's obviously something that's high on everyone's mind right now. Our enlisted troops and, of course, the federal air traffic controllers, those people, as of next Wednesday, I want to say, will be working without pay. And there are concerns that this could, wreak havoc on the country. I do think it's important to delineate that, the messaging battle, I do think, appears to be currently won by President Trump and his allies. You look back to last Tuesday, and traditionally, of course, Republicans are generally viewed, at least in the public eye, as the party, obstructing government or shutting down the government. But it's slowly started to shift over the last week. And, I would say Democrats in most polls still hold an advantage, but that margin is shrinking compared to where we were heading into the shutdown or on October 1st.
What are the plans for the president to go to the Middle East to sort of preside over ceremonies with regard to the official implement of this peace plan?
Larry, this is still a fluid situation, and the White House is keeping some of these details close to the vest for security reasons. But what we know is that the president will travel to Egypt on Sunday. He'll arrive there Monday local time, more than likely, and he's going to take part in an official signing ceremony. Now, this document, of course, has already been signed. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen the IDF and Hamas, reduce their hostilities and end the violence. But Donald Trump, along with some of these other Arab leaders who he really has lauded as being critical to negotiating this peace, they'll all be in attendance. And then the president plans to travel to Israel. He's going to deliver an address to the Knesset, their parliament, so to speak. And the one big question we don't know is, will the president actually travel to Gaza? We've heard flirtings that he might. He had said as much himself at the White House on Wednesday that he think he could do that. But you also have some officials behind the scenes saying there's absolutely no way we can let the president go to Gaza, even with this peace plan in place, just because of the concerns that, like they have in the past, this could break down and that we are still in the extremely preliminary phases of what's going to be a prolonged and, to be quite frank, tense move towards a normalization of relations in the region. But all things considered, this is a huge development, a major positive development. Everyone wanted to see this war end and Hamas removed from power, and, of course, the remaining hostages released. Yeah. And, the president didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize on Friday right now, but I spoke to a couple of Democrats on Thursday who even said, maybe this makes him a shoo-in for next year.
We'll see. Honestly, as long as Yasser Arafat can call himself a Nobel Peace Prize winner, I don't think it's worth much. That said, listen, release of the hostages, peace in our time, government shutdown. Christian, you're bearing the lead. Columbus Day is back. What was that moment like?
How silly of me to forget the most important story of the day. No, I mean, Columbus Day is back. I, as a child of the 90s, my mind immediately started jumping to all the Sopranos memes that were getting blasted around Twitter. But it's not just Columbus Day, Larry. Let's give some shine to our fellow Vikings out there. He also signed a proclamation recognizing Leif Erikson Day. So a big day for European-based explorer holidays. Nothing really serious here, but I'm sure there are some Italian Americans in New Jersey and New York who are friends with Trump or have known him for a long time, who've been pushing him to do this.
Oh, I know there are.
After the Biden administration.
Leif Erikson Day. Leif Garrett Day maybe might be more fit. Leif Erikson Day. What do we care about the Vikings? They don't even have a quarterback right now. I don't know.
Ooh, that's tough.
Christian Datoc, Washington Examiner. Thanks.
Thank you,
get
Christian.
some rest and get back to work. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
it's 7:44.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Well, as you just heard reference, the Nobel Prize has been announced in Oslo. It's going to Maria Corina Machado.
Who?
Out of Venezuela. Maria Corina Machado.
Again,
I
who?
will I understand the point that you're making, but you know what? Here, let me give you a good description of who this woman is and why she won the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm quoting now. Venezuelan democracy activist Maria Corina Machado and President-elect Gonzalez are peacefully expressing the voices and the will of the Venezuelan people, with hundreds of thousands of people demonstrating against the regime. The great Venezuelan American community in the United States overwhelmingly support a free Venezuela and strongly support me. These freedom fighters should not be harmed and must stay safe and alive. That was January 9th, 2025, tweeted out by Donald J. Trump. That was President Trump's glowing review of one Maria Corina Machado. Listen, no disrespect to Maria Corina Machado. She's doing a fine job trying to stand up to the Maduro dictatorship in Venezuela.
Sure.
And do her best to bring democracy back to Venezuela. I don't think that compares to the things that President Trump has been able to achieve.
Absolutely not. I mean, listen, when Representative Byron Donalds, candidate for governor of Florida, put out this great tweet that lists all of the negotiated peace agreements and ends to conflict that President Trump has presided over, Armenian, Azerbaijan, oh my gosh, I always butcher the name, Azerbaijan, Cambodia to Thailand. Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Azerbaijan, thank you. Cambodia, Thailand, Congo, ending the Congo-Rwanda conflict, Egypt and Ethiopia conflict, India and Pakistan, that was a big one. A number of Israel negotiated peace agreements under the Abraham Accords, Serbia and Kosovo. But it just speaks to how unfathomable it is that a man who's negotiated so many peace agreements would be looked over, and then you give it to, Barack Obama, who had barely been in office for how long when he received the Nobel Peace Prize for doing what? People he doesn't even know. So, at this point, it doesn't matter.
It really does. And in fact, honestly, listen, on the face of it, if anyone looks at this objectively and decides who should get a Nobel Peace Prize, President Trump, as you just detailed, certainly should be the top name on your book. The problem is the left hate him, and so they'll never do it. And my biggest problem with President Trump's desire to have a Nobel Peace Prize is the fact that President Trump has a desire to get a Nobel Peace Prize. He's above this, and the Nobel Peace Prize is below him and his achievements. Let's just be clear. At this
point, yeah.
As you just mentioned, Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize, and he literally had not done anything yet. Al Gore got the Nobel Peace Prize for lying about your SUV's exhaust. All right. And Yasser Arafat, an actual terrorist,
yes,
got a Nobel Peace Prize for lying and pretending like he wanted terrorism to stop against Jews. And 2 years after getting the Nobel Peace Prize, he continued the Intifada and the murder of innocent Jews in Israel. So as far as I'm concerned, the Nobel Peace Prize is meaningless as long as those three people can call themselves Nobel Peace Laureates. So honestly, President Trump should not even care about this thing. It's a sullied prize, if that's what you want to call it. It's beneath him, frankly. But there you go. I don't think anybody is surprised that he didn't get it.
No,
if
we're
anything,
not surprised.
It shows in brutal, obvious relief how politically manipulative, woke, and stupid this thing is. If you are conservative, if you are in any way on the right side of Western European, Scandinavian values and socialism, you're not considered a legitimate individual worthy of a prize. So that's
on the
the
weekend that we are literally seeing a peace agreement after a 2-year war in Gaza. Listen, it is what it is.
The only upside of Donald Trump getting a Nobel Peace Prize is seeing the reaction from the political left in this country.
They'll go nuts.
That would have been the only great thing about it. By the way, and here's the best part. If you look at the media today, if you scan the headlines, every single headline talking about who won the Nobel Peace Prize, every single headline has Trump's name in it. The whole they're doing a victory lap. It has nothing to do with this woman who is a worthy individual and deserves to have a Nobel Peace Prize. Good for her. But the media in America is only looking at this as, aha, Trump didn't get it. Trump didn't get it. That tells you how obsessed they are and how pathetic it is. It's 7:53.